there! Hey everybody, it's Dr. Joe and Batgirl Remy, and today we're going to show you general stretches and exercises for the shoulder. And this is the 5th video in my moderate 10-day whole body wellness challenge. Want to find out more about it? Stick around to the end. So let's get started. Disclaimer alert, disclaimer alert. So before we get started with the shoulder, you're going to need a resistive band. I like the long ones for this that aren't looped, but I like to put a little handle loop on the end for some of the exercises, and you're going to need to be next to a wall or a door because we're going to anchor the band in there. But if you don't happen to have any resistive bands, that's okay. You can do these exercises without the band, but eventually if you're trying to progress and do more difficulty, make sure you get some resistive bands, but you can definitely do these without them. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the warm-up, and we'll talk a little bit more as we go. So let's just start off with some shoulder circles to kind of get the shoulders going. We're going to do forwards and backwards, or clockwise, counterclockwise, whatever you'd like to call them. You can do just a couple one way and then alternate, or maybe do 10 one way and then go back and do 10 the other way, whatever feels most comfortable for you with the movements. So, and you can see sometimes that one of my shoulders doesn't go higher than the other, and that's just because I've had surgery on one, and I think maybe eventually the other one might need a little bit of help on the other side, but you can make fun of me if you want to. So as we go along, we're going to go in 30-second exercise seconds instead of for repetitions. Let's just do some arm circles now. And so that's so you can go at your own pace. You don't have to focus on reps. We have 30 seconds. You do as many as you comfortably can in that time. And then we'll do a little short break in between the individual exercises, and then a long break in between the group exercises and stretches. So really just making sure that you're doing your own pace. Don't feel like you have to keep up. Maybe if you have a band, you want to start off with it, and then it becomes a little bit too much, you can stop using the band and maybe still do going through the motions. Now just some shoulder squeezes kind of to get that opened up as well. Get those nice squeezes in there. Usually with bands, I would always say start off with the lightest one. Depending on the brand you get, they're different colors, so they're not always the same color. So just make sure, even if it feels easy, I would always start off with the lightest band, because sometimes you're doing a lot more than you think you are, and it's not really sore while you're doing it, but you might be a little sore later. And then maybe just some tees to really kind of open up the chest area, because the shoulder muscles go into the chest, up into the neck. So it's kind of a combination of things to really get those things moving. So we're going to start off standing up. And what you're going to do with the band is, I again like having that little loop just as a handle. You don't have to have it that way. And then stepping on the band as an anchor. Make sure you're stepping on it solid. Sometimes I'll have that longer piece, so I'm stepping both so it doesn't pop up and get you. We're just going to do shoulder flexion. Keep that arm straight and bring straight out in front of you. Only go up to about 90 degrees. I like just that 90 degrees because once you start going past the 90 degrees, you start changing the muscles you're using. And especially if you're first starting off with a resistive band, you might even just be able to go to here and then eventually kind of work your way up. But again, just go to where you're comfortable, because I'd rather you be able to get that whole motion instead of trying to hike your shoulder up. So I'm just going to alternate back and forth when we're using resistive bands to give the other side a little bit of a break. And then again, just kind of coming up into that neutral 90-degree position, which I would call kind of up here. And then really making sure you're controlling the band. Don't let that band control you. And real quick, I'm going to take a thumbnail picture right there. You can take that with me if you want as well. And then nice and slow coming down with that. And again, you can see I'm not hiking up my shoulder. A lot of times, especially if you have some shoulder tightness, that's what people want to do to try and get the band up. They're doing this motion, but that's not really getting the exercise that you need. So if you have to do that to be able to get the band up, maybe you're not quite ready for the band yet, and you can just do this shoulder flexion without the bands. Or again, maybe just going until you get a little bit of tension right there before coming all the way up into that motion. I like my thumb in that upward position. This sometimes kind of impinges the shoulder a little bit. So I always tell people at least start off with that thumb up position. If you want to try different positions, you can, but that's usually the safest for your shoulder. So thumb in that upward position, coming up, and then nice and slow coming back down. And even if you have to kind of stop and reset each time, you don't have to go continuously like me. Again, go at your own pace. Mine might be a little too fast for you in the beginning. So then the next one is just going to be going into abduction, shoulder abduction. So same thing, anchor that band with your feet. I like both just to be extra safe. Turn that thumb outwards now, still keeping your arm straight. And then we're going out to the side into that shoulder abduction this time. So just coming up still to about that 90 degrees. Doesn't have to be exact. It can be a little bit over, a little bit under. But when you're first starting off, I kind of like to keep it in about that position, not too much higher than that. Because then sometimes too, if you have some kind of injury, that goes a little bit into that impinged position if the range of motion isn't quite doing what it's supposed to. And again, you can go a little bit lower if you need to. Again, we'll alternate sides just to give each side a little break as we go along. Turning out that thumb. I like to look over to that side to make sure I'm getting the right height in there. But again, if you need to just kind of start here, or if you want to go without the band to start out with, you can. Since this is the moderate level, hopefully you'll be able to work up to bands if you can't quite work up to them yet. And if you feel like I'm talking a lot, feel free to put on the mute button and listen to your own music, especially if this isn't the first time you're doing this. But as you know, I like to explain and give modifications as we go. So I usually talk pretty much the whole time all the way through. Thumb out and then coming up. So really going out to the side, following the plane of your body there for that abduction. And then nice and slow, coming back down, making sure you're controlling the band. Don't let the band control you. And you can also change the resistance of the band a little bit about how short or long the band is. So maybe this is a little bit too much, but this is the lightest one. If I give myself a little bit more slack, then it takes a little bit of tension off that band. So it might be then a little bit easier to do or more accomplishable for you. Just make sure that you're still anchoring it down, even if you give it a little bit of slack in there. So that's a way to kind of modify it as well. And it's also a way to make it a little bit more challenging by stepping more onto it. So the next one is going to be going into extension with the shoulder. So again, kind of anchoring everything, thumb still pointing forward, arm still straight. Make sure your body is upright, especially for the extension, because people tend to like to bend over with this, but try and keep your body upright, and then you're just going back. So see, I'm not going quite as far. Maybe I'm going 30 to 40 degrees, but I'm not going all the way up to that 90, because truly to get to that 90, I'd have to bend over, and then I'm still not actually going to 90. So make sure you're upright doing this movement, not bending over, but keeping that nice smooth motion while you're standing up. And it, again, is probably 30 to 40 degrees. It's not even quite to 45 degrees. And again, thumb forward. Some people might tell you to do it differently, but I like doing this way, especially in the beginning, because that's what opens up that shoulder a little bit more. And I feel like it makes it more comfortable, especially when you're first trying to do these to get the correct technique down. because you want to make sure you're getting that correct technique before you start adding on more resistance or trying to make it more challenging for you. I can also feel when I go back into the shoulder extension, it's stretching out my biceps a little bit. So you might feel a little pressure up here. That's completely normal. That's just that bicep muscle getting stretched when you go back into that extension. Really try and keep that arm straight too. Some people will kind of kick back like that, but that ends up working your triceps. So really try and keep it straight so you're getting the posterior delt and that posterior chain back there, keeping everything nice and straight. Nice kicking back. Try and look straight forward if you can. I know sometimes I'm looking down, but try and keep everything looking straight forward. That helps keep your body upright as well. And again, you don't have to go as fast as I'm going. If you want to stop and reset each time, that's fine. Go at your own pace. Make sure you're feeling good with what you're doing and you're not overdoing it and not realizing that you're overdoing it. So the next one is going to be shoulder scaption. So scaption is the in-between of flexion and abduction. So it's not all the way out, it's not all the way in the front, it's kind of at that 45-degree angle in between. So I know sometimes it's hard to see with the camera, but I'm not all the way out, I'm kind of at that 45-degree angle, and then just, again, coming up to about that 90 degrees up there. But if that's too much, you can definitely start off a little bit lower, because I don't want you trying to hike it up, which is what a lot of people will do if they don't have that full motion in there. So just whatever's most comfortable for you. So again, not all the way out to the side, not all the way in the front, that about 45-degree in between those two. And scaption just means it's following the scapular plane or that shoulder blade, because it sits kind of at an angle. So you're just following that plane. And actually a lot of times this is a more comfortable position for people, especially more comfortable than the going into abduction. So this is a nice way to kind of really get the shoulder blade or that scapula going too, and really just making sure you're getting those smooth motions in there. You might have also saw the last one, I bent my elbow just a little bit. Try and keep that arm straight if you can. So if you're coming up like this, that might mean that it's too much resistance on the band. You want to be able to keep that elbow locked out. And if it's starting to bend, if you feel like you're having to activate your biceps to get it up, either give yourself a little more tension or a little less tension, excuse me, or maybe try some without the band for a while until you can build up your strength just a little bit. And again, thumbs up with this one. Again, that's my personal liking of the thumbs up position. Yeah, nice and smooth, and making sure that that band's not just pulling you back down like that. Really controlling it, nice and slow, back down. So now we're going to go into some full stretches, which is holding the stretch for the full 30 seconds. We're going to start off with the upper trap stretch. That's one of my favorites. So just sitting on the hand, bringing the other hand up over your head and just getting that finger touching the opposite ear over there. And then you're just going to gently pull over to the side, stretching that upper trap area. So you should really feel that stretch right in through here. And even though you might think technically it's a neck stretch, again, a lot of those neck muscles are the same muscles as those shoulder muscles. So you really want to make sure you're stretching both of them out because they're all connected. Everything really is connected. So this is not only a great shoulder stretch, but it's a great neck stretch as well. You can also, instead of sitting on your hand, you can put your hand behind your back. You'll get a slightly different stretch with that. So if you want to try both, that's fine. You can do that. And this is a great time when you're doing the full stretches, really to try and get that deep diaphragmatic breathing. You really should be doing that through all your stretches and exercises, but it's really easy to do with the long stretches. So breathing in through your belly and letting it out. And when you let it out, a lot of times you can get just a little more stretch in there. You also don't have to put your hand behind your back or underneath your bottom. If you just want to relax it, you can, but you won't get quite as much of a stretch, because if you're just keeping it there, the point of putting it underneath or behind you is to hold that shoulder down to get a better stretch. But if that's uncomfortable, I'm still getting a very good stretch through everything right there, but I feel more of a stretch if I hold on to it, or even just take my hand and push my fist down, because that's keeping that shoulder down. And if you do that, you really will feel more of a stretch in there. So whatever's comfortable, whatever works best for you, but that's really the stretch that you want to get in there. And then I'll do the last one, just kind of sitting on it again. Hand up and over, finger touching the ear, and just really gently pulling to the side. So the next one is going to be a Levator Scapulae stretch. If you've seen any of my neck and shoulder exercises, it's another one of my favorite stretches. Same kind of thing with the arm placement. There's a couple different placements that you can do to get the stretch, but if all of those are uncomfortable, you don't have to do that. But if I'm stretching this side, I'm going to bring my elbow up, hand over the head, and pulling down kind of towards the opposite knee, or some people like saying tucking your nose into your armpit. And you should feel that stretch all the way up in that neck area down to where it attaches to your shoulder blade. And if that's a little tough for you, if you have some shoulder issues and bringing it all the way up is hard, you can also put it behind your back, bring it up over like a helmet, pull towards the opposite side, and get that deep breathing. And again, if the hand placements are a little uncomfortable, you can do the stretch without putting your other arm anywhere. You can just let it relax. I'm coming up and over and I'm tucking in. So I'm still feeling a stretch through here. It's just not quite as much as with the others. I can also, again, just kind of push my fist down, push my hand down to hold that shoulder blade down just a little bit. But it's still not quite as much as if I bring my elbow up or put my arm behind my back. So I'll do the one with my elbow up. That's the way I learned it. That's the way I think I get the best stretch for the last one. Elbow up and then tucking in. So the next one, you're going to grab your resistive band again. We're going to be doing seated rows. So just anchor the band around your feet. You can keep them bent. You can push them out a little bit to get a different angle if you want for the rows. Keep your thumbs up again. Keep your elbows close to your side. And it's just like it sounds. You're rowing a boat. So you're really squeezing those shoulder blades back, kind of like those scapular squeezes, but now you're using the band to give you some resistance. So it's not this. I see a lot of people do this. That's getting those biceps. You're pulling your arms back and in, not up. So just make sure that that's what you're supposed to be feeling. Squeezing those shoulder blades back, getting that nice squeeze in there, a little hold if you want to, and then relax coming back. Depending on the placement of your feet, so if I'm a little bit closer in this way, it's going to be more of a downward or upward angle, I guess, coming this way. And it just works the muscles slightly differently, but you can still do that way as well. Just make sure you're keeping the elbows close to your side, thumbs in that upward position. Don't let the band roll off your feet, and then get that nice squeeze in there at the end. Not bringing those shoulders up, keeping those shoulders down. So the next ones are going to be where you need a wall or a doorway to anchor something in. So I'm going into my void right now to hook it on to the wall. And so we're going to do external rotation. So keep your elbow by your side, thumb up in this position, start with your hand across your body, and just pull to about a neutral position. So again, if you've done these before, if you've done with a therapist before, they might have you come all the way out and across, which is fine, but starting off, I really want you just to go into this where your arm's almost perpendicular to your tummy right there, just getting into that neutral position. Because sometimes if you go further out and you have an impingement or something, that's going to be uncomfortable. So just getting that motion in there. Now, ideally, if I wanted to do the other side, I'm just going to turn around. And so you can see me. I'm going to go at a little bit of an angle here so I can talk to you a little bit, but still across the body, pulling into that neutral position. You really want, ideally, the angle to be where I did the other one. So I'm just kind of doing here just so you don't have to look at my back the whole time, but still that same motion just coming into that neutral position. If you're already anchored in, all you have to do is just turn around to get the other side doing that external rotation. So this one's coming, a little bit from my back, but I'm still getting that resistance that I need. So ideally you just turn all the way back around, but my anchor is just in one spot and I want to be able to see you and talk to you while I'm doing them. So elbow by the side, just coming into that neutral position. So a lot of times people will try and do this where their elbow is coming away. Keep that elbow close into your side. If you feel like it keeps coming out, roll up a towel, and so you have to squeeze it close to your body, because then you'll have to keep it close or the roll will fall out. So that's a nice trick to be able to make sure that you're doing it the right way. And again, I'm going to kind of turn at that angle so you can still see me a little bit, but hand against my tummy and pulling out and in. Getting that nice and controlled movement with the band going in and out. And I might be disappearing a little bit on the corner over here, but I promise I didn't really disappear. I'm still here, just getting that nice motion in there, nice and smooth. So then you're going to do internal rotation. So now I'm just holding on the opposite side, and now I'm starting here and then going in towards my tummy. So same thing, you might have been places where your therapist starts you further out, which is fine if you don't have any problems, but I like starting here and then coming in this way. So just to make sure that you're kind of keeping it in a little smaller range the first couple of times you do it. And I'm going a little bit past that, what we would call 90 or that perpendicular, you can go out just a little bit. But again, starting off, I like kind of keeping it just to here, pulling into the belt line about right there, just to make sure that you're not really irritating anything while you're doing it. I can maybe kind of do this way so you can see a little bit. Again, the resistance should ideally be over there. So you're just turning around, but I'm coming in or a little bit more of an angle, but keeping that elbow close to my side and then just pulling in that way. So the anchor should always be in the opposite direction that you want to come. So if I'm coming in this way, the anchor is over there. So pulling in and then stopping right there, getting that nice. So again, if you feel like your elbow's coming out and you're doing more this motion coming in, which is a different exercise, roll up that towel and put it by your side so you have to squeeze that elbow in, because that's what's going to get that rotation in the shoulder. That's what's working those rotator cuff muscles, which are the ones that you want nice and strong to keep that shoulder stable in there. And then again, elbow by the side and then coming in. And then grab your band out from wherever it's anchored into the nothingness over there. And then go ahead and anchor it again. And now we're going to do bicep curls. So same kind of thing, make sure it's nice and anchored, elbow by your side. You can do a couple different placements with your hands for this. Let's start with the thumb up. And so just curling up and coming back down. So you can see there's a little slack there. So I would maybe, as long as that was easy, give myself a little bit more tension in there for those curls. So when you're coming all the way down, you want tension on that band as well, as long as you can come all the way up. Again, you know, really controlling that motion, not going super fast, but if you want to pick up the speed, as long as you're controlling the band, that's okay. And then you can also, instead of thumb up, you can turn outwards. This would be more like a hammer curl. And then you can also go this way, but still keeping that elbow pretty close to your side, curling, not lifting up like this. The bend is just at the elbow, and the top part of your shoulder is staying in one spot, really just getting that nice curl all the way through, coming all the way up, coming all the way down. So getting that full motion in there. And if maybe that's too much, the full motion, you can do a little bit less. Start completely out and then maybe just come to here, you know, come bringing it up to the plane of the floor or that 90 degrees of the elbow. So you can start off here if maybe this is just a little bit too much for you. You know, again, if you need to modify it a little bit in the beginning, that's what you want to do, because you want to make sure that it's something accomplishable. If you get frustrated because you can't do the full movement, you might end up just irritating yourself more or changing the technique. And if you change the technique, then a lot of times that's not good, because then you're not doing it the correct way. So we'll go back to the hammer curl on this side and just getting that nice full motion if you can, but if you can't, just coming to about that 90, and then maybe, you know, seeing if you can do a little pause and hold that resistance for a little bit, and then coming back down. So there you have it. Those were my general stretches and exercises for the shoulder. So this was a part of my moderate 10-day wellness whole body challenge, video number 5. If you'd like to find out more about it, click on the link in the description below. And if you want to check out the other videos in the whole body wellness challenge, click on the playlist in the link up there. And remember, be safe, have fun, and I hope you feel better soon. Batgirl's got somewhere to go.